And come on in and welcome back to the Survivor Indianapolis YouTube channel. We are back with our um, series called Looking Back on Survivor. I had to take a second to remember what the title that we went with for the series was. So again, joining me, Alex Golden, and my name is David Cole. For those few of you that don't somehow know, and we're going to be talking about the next 3 seasons on our list, going in chronological order through every season of Survivor. For the first time with Alex Golden, and not for the first time with myself. So now we are going to do episode season 7, Pearl Islands, season 8, All Stars, and season 9, Vanuatu. So let's go ahead and just jump into Pearl Islands. Alex, we already have our backgrounds locked and loaded with Pearl Islands cast members. I also have Fair Play here. I'm covering him
Yes.
up, but he's there. So, um, first of all, this is an incredible season of Survivor. It is, in my opinion, one of the very best. So, Alex, go ahead and talk about some of the things that you really love about this season here.
Well, let's just go back to the first episode because this is the first time all these cast members are on the boat. They think they're going out to do some like
Photo shoot.
photo shoot to promote the show. And then all of a sudden, Jeff's like, jump off the boat, swim, go get your stuff for camp because you don't get your stuff like you usually do. And you got to trade with these people because they were in Panama, I believe. And so it was really awesome because you had to see people jumping in their like business clothes, people wearing suits, women wearing dresses. It's just
Yeah,
funny. You've got
I
uh,
mean,
Rupert's in a pair of
Rupert's in
jeans,
jeans. Yeah.
like heavy jeans, and he's like, "Really?" So, yeah, the first episode is just hilarious. They go out there and they have to basically be like pirates and go out
Hmm.
there and trade away stuff to get stuff back for their camp. And then they were separated into two tribes already, I believe, before once they split out. I think Probst let them know who was with who, and it was hilarious because Rupert just starts things off on this episode stealing the other team's belongings that they left by their raft, and it was
So good.
hilarious. And he starts using this to get more stuff, and it just put them at a major advantage. And of course, Sandra, who is in this picture as well, she's the only Spanish speaking member of Survivor on the cast this year. They're in Panama. She's able to speak and negotiate and get way more things for her tribe, which I believe was it Morgan or was it
I That sounds right, but I'm not positive. No, it's Drake, right? It's
Drake?
Drake.
Yeah, Drake was
Yeah.
pretty dominant for a while. Morgan was the other tribe. And so honestly, it was just fantastic seeing the whole thing just play out, how they had to get their stuff, and then they went to their camps, and just a very cool dynamic. And then, of course, after that, just all the different things that happen. I mean, we can get into the big moments, I guess, whenever you're
Yeah.
ready for that.
Yeah, whatever, man. I mean,
You got to
the
start
opening
with
is incredible though. You do have to
yes.
start with that.
It was so good. It was like I'll never forget. Like they used it as like the intro too for like the theme song. Like you have Nicole in her blue dress jumping off into the water. It's just like an iconic thing. Yeah. So I think from this season, the funniest person that had their clothes on was Lil because she has her Girl Scout outfit on. Okay, she's from
Um,
Ohio, I believe.
yeah. Lil is so
Midwestern,
funny, man.
Midwestern girl with a lot of sass. Lillian Morris. I mean, I felt like by the end of the show, she was very obnoxious to me, but she definitely brought up some good points. You had Johnny Fairplay, you had Dara, who is just a mortician, but like you would not expect that from her. Just a lot of big things in this. I just think that Rupert's infectious personality on this show made me fall in love with him as a character. His just desire to win every challenge. He just played the game so hard.
Hmm.
And he wasn't like super great at challenges, but the guy could swim, he could catch fish, he was the provider of the tribe. And I love the different elements that they had where if you lost the reward, or maybe it was the immunity challenge, I can't remember, you got to go to the other tribe's camp and take something from them like a pirate would. So
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
saw a lot of, interesting gameplay here because this happens all before the merge. And so I just thought in this specific season, so many great players between Sandra, Johnny Fairplay, and Rupert all in your pictures, even to Savage, who I thought was a good player.
Yeah.
Austin.
Yeah.
Austin
Austin's
was
really funny. Him being afraid of the
sort of a
pelican.
pelican. Oh,
Oh, so funny.
honestly, he was just afraid of Survivor in general, and
That's
the fact
true.
that he lasted as long as he did. And then yeah, I think it was Michelle who totally ruined the plan of Drake to act like she couldn't eat the food at the food eating challenge.
Yeah.
She was supposed to go into this. Her and Fairplay had made this whole like thing of act like you can't do it, so that way when it gets to a tiebreaker, they pick you. And instead, she just, for some reason, decides she's going to go all out and just be like, chug this nasty thing. Well, Sandra couldn't do it. So then they put Sandra up against, I think, Dara at the end and ended up giving Morgan the victory. And because Michelle did that, she got voted out. Just a lot of stuff. But I think it all really got very interesting when Johnny Fairplay tried to turn on Rupert. And Rupert's like, are you playing games, Johnny? Did you vote for me? He's like, I'm
Who
gonna kill
voted for
you.
me?
Yeah, it's so funny. And like Fairplay is like not even backing down. And so you
Yeah.
got this just like big moment between him and Rupert. And like Rupert's like this, guy that everybody loves. He goes over to the Morgan tribe, helps them kind of get reestablished of who they are. And because they were able to steal him away from Drake for a little bit. I'm all over the place because this season's just incredible. But I think we just have to take a moment now and go deep into conversation about Johnny Fairplay and his grandmother.
It's probably the most iconic moment
Oh
that
my,
you've seen so far.
yes,
In terms of like that was talked about. It was like the thing to talk about from TV, not just
yeah.
like, oh, this is a big moment for Survivor. It was like everyone is like, did you hear about this dude that lied about his grandma being dead on national television? And the thing is, it was my favorite part about it is Sandra just not buying it at all to the
Oh,
point
I
where she's
know.
like trying to tank it so that he trying to make sure that he loses. And like everyone like Lil's like, oh, like you should just let him win because his grandma died and he needs to get news about his grandma. And Tanner's like, yeah, I want Fair Play's buddy to walk the plank.
You're totally right about that.
It's so funny. And then beyond the fact that the acting on Fairplay's buddy's part is really bad, it's
Oh,
so
it's so
funny.
terrible.
She died, dude.
Dude, she died.
It's
I'm
like,
like,
oh,
and they all believe that. And Fairplay does this fake cry.
oh, it's so funny though.
He's like, my grandma,
It's
she's dead. And then they go to the ITM and he's like, yeah, she's watching Jerry Springer.
she's at home watching Jerry Springer.
And the thing about Johnny Fairplay
Uh,
is he is a former wrestler, amateur
mhm,
wrestler. I
yeah,
think he actually ended up getting into more wrestling after this because it
he
got more
did.
popular.
He did, yeah.
So that was
Which
kind
we'll
of
talk about that
interesting.
later when he plays one more time. There's a little bit
Mhm.
of a backstory. Um, it has to do with
Yeah.
wrestling, so I'll get into that with you when we
And
cross that
then
bridge. But
I think we gotta bring up Skinny Ryan.
oh,
Poor guy.
I love Skinny Ryan. It's so stinking funny.
He's
With the
the sweetest kid.
with the Die Jerks hat when they come back for
Yes.
the Outcast challenge.
Yes. So I guess we should talk about that. So, and this is the first ever
Mhm. First
season.
time that player voted off had the chance to get back into the game.
So it's like the
Um,
returning player challenge. And it was
mhm.
I thought it was super cool.
It was
If
super
any,
controversial when it first came out, but now, based off what we've seen in seasons since then, it really isn't that controversial
yeah.
anymore. And the fact that the cast is so great, it makes people kind of forget about like certain twists that have happened in the last 5 to 10 years. People probably would be more forgiving on those twists if the cast was as good as this cast.
Yeah.
You know?
No, and you're right about that. I think what was really interesting about this is like they were able to like the outcast had to win the challenge to be
Yes.
a part
Now
of it.
they did like they were told like, oh yeah, no, they've been surviving.
They weren't.
They weren't. I mean, they weren't like back at home, but they were better fed, better rested. All these mentally, they were better prepared because they weren't like playing the
Mm,
game. They weren't having to deal with the stress of like, winning a challenge and getting voted off and living in living in these conditions that the people that are still in the game were living on. So it wasn't really a fair fight necessarily. They could
mhm.
have still lost, I guess, but it wasn't totally a fair fight. But
Right.
that made it more entertaining though, because they actually won.
Yeah, I mean, it just totally twisted the game for a good positive, I think, because at this point you've already seen so much of like, okay, the two tribes versus each other. When's the merge happening? How are we going to vote? Which tribe's going to be stronger at the merge? Like, it kind of became predictable a little bit.
A little, yeah.
A little bit boring too, just a little bit. Not like it's a boring show. It's Survivor. I mean, I love it, but it's like you kind of know what's going to happen, and so it just kind of a nice twist. And I know, like you said, it was controversial, and I know Savage was so upset about this. And it ended up costing him
Yeah.
because basically what happened is they had to vote a member out after they both lost.
Hmm.
And Austin ended up leaving, and Sean got voted out for Drake. And
Hmm.
Austin ended up telling them, I'm done. And so Jeff, for the first time, I think, didn't say the tribe has spoken. He
Yeah.
said,
He was
Jeff,
mad.
or he was like, Austin, you can go home. And he
Yeah.
was like, just ticked. Like, why would you be out there for like 19 days and quit? Like, you're
He
like halfway there.
Jeff hates quitters. You can just
Yeah.
tell.
And I mean, I don't blame him. Like, it doesn't make for good television. There's no drama to it either. So it's
Hmm.
just like, I'm done. So Lil ends up getting voted back in, as well as Burton. They were the tribe, the outcasts had to vote who they wanted to put back in the game, and they were the two leading vote getters. Burton, clearly the more physical,
Yeah.
strong person, and Lil was just a kind of a hardworking girl that was determined, and people liked her. Didn't really view her as a threat.
I think that's why she got voted back in. I think people
Yeah,
thought she wouldn't get. I think if you if you were gonna vote for somebody, you can't be yourself.
yeah.
And you're like, well, if I vote for Lil, no one else is gonna vote for Lil. But the thing is, everyone thought, oh, no one else will vote for Lil, so then
Mm,
Lil got several votes.
yeah. And that's super cool that she got voted back in. She kind of, like I told you before, she annoyed the crap out of me at the end
Yeah,
because she just like, the more TV time she got with less other characters involved, the more annoying you realize she was.
yeah.
But at the same time, I believe she won immunity when it was final three, and she picked Sandra to come with her and sent Johnny Fairplay home. And so
She
that,
beat Fair Play. Yeah,
yeah, and that was a big thing there for her to be able to outlast Fairplay to take Sandra with her. And she thought, I mean, she can say that it wasn't gameplay, but it definitely was. But she was trying to say that, well, Sandra deserves the money more than Fairplay because Sandra had a family and they had that little bond there. But Sandra just told people straight up how it was. I, at this point, was hoping for Sandra or Dara to win. I really like Dara a lot, or Dara. Maybe I'm saying it wrong, but
I think it's Dara.
yeah, I think it's Dara. Sorry. And I just enjoyed her as a personality because she was just kind of like no nonsense and just did her thing. She competed very hard, and I think they viewed her as a threat as well. So they wanted to get her out. So she, because I think the girls teamed up to get Burton out, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah, yeah,
because
they did.
Fairplay and Burton were
So that was
out
when
together.
Burton won a reward challenge, and
Hmm.
he trusted Lil like totally purely.
Because they were the outcast.
And so when he won the reward, he took Fair Play with him and left Lil there, and that was part of one of the reasons why it kind of rubbed Lil wrong, and then they ended up voting Burton out.
Hmm.
And if he had taken Lil with him, that made it maybe wouldn't have happened.
Yeah. And I brought up the whole Lil and Savage thing because Savage basically voices frustrations to Lil about the outcasts
Hmm.
coming back in.
Hmm.
And before, when Lil had got voted out, she had asked Savage, who was kind of the leader of the tribe, will you at least let me know if you're voting me out? And he never did. And so when it came to the merge, she had the opportunity to be the swing vote. And it was super funny because Savage was like, all right, Lil, are you going to vote with Morgan, or are you going to flip and go to Drake? And she said, well, I'm not sure yet. I'm still weighing my options. And he said, will you let me know when we, before we go? And she said, she's like, kind of like, you let me know,
Yeah.
because he didn't. So it was pretty funny. I think, overall it was smart to get Rupert out because I think it was hard not to like him. If he would have made it to the final two, I think everybody would have probably voted for him. So
Hmm.
he had a target on his back. Another person we didn't bring up, Krista.
Yeah, Chris Tasty.
Yeah, she was a very good player,
Was she the
but
one that got blamed for the fish
she did. Oh my
with
gosh,
Sandra?
yes, that is a great point. I forgot about that. Please tell that
Great
story.
moment. I don't remember all of it explicitly. It was basically like Sandra got mad when they voted off someone she didn't want to get.
Rupert. It was when
Yes, that's
Rupert
what it
went
was. They
home.
voted off Rupert. That's right. And so she dumped all this fish out that somebody had caught. Probably Rupert had caught
Rupert,
it.
yeah,
And so it was like, well, you don't deserve to eat his fish because you voted him out. She just dumps it all out and just in a fit of rage because Sandra just like gets mad and does stuff, which is part of why she's incredible TV. Um, and so she dumps it out, and then for whatever reason, they just blame Christy or Krista, and she Krista like never really fights back much about
that's
it.
why.
And I don't know if it's just because she just knew it must have been Sandra and didn't want to screw Sandra over, so she just didn't bring it up. I don't know. But like it was kind of just like no one thought it would possibly be Sandra, which is so funny because she gets mad all the time at everybody. So I don't know why they didn't think it would be Sandra, but somehow they thought that. I don't know if it was kind of like this season, where they just kind of assumed that oh, what's her name didn't have the idol. Carolyn. They just like were like, oh, Carolyn
Oh yeah,
couldn't have found the idol,
yeah, yeah,
and but she found it. So it's maybe one of those kind of things where for whatever reason the timing of when they found the fish, not in the bucket, they just assumed it couldn't have been Sandra, but it was Sandra.
yeah. And she even admitted it afterwards. She's like, "Yeah, I did it. They don't deserve that fish. Rupert caught it." She's like, "They don't deserve to have it after voting him off because they blindsided him and got him out." And I
Yeah.
mean, her, Rupert, and Krista were all in an alliance,
Hmm.
and they probably would have gone to the final three together if they could
Hmm.
have stayed together. And they were pretty loyal. And we got to just talk about Krista though, because she had a dress on, and what she did is she cut off the bottom of her dress and made a skirt for Rupert because he was in a
Oh,
pair
that's
of
right.
jeans.
He's
And so
chafing. He's
Rupert,
chafing.
this whole entire time, yes, this whole entire time, Rupert's literally in a dress, like a skirt
Oh.
that was made out of a dress. And it's just the funniest thing because you got like the manliest man out there
Hmm.
wearing basically a mini skirt.
Yeah.
So
So funny.
it was great television. I love the element of them not being able to have like normal Survivor clothes and not
Hmm.
being able to wear like I know for a while there they were wearing like Reebok and stuff that was like sponsored, I think, at the beginning of the seasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I think it was all really pretty, great television. This is easily my favorite season so far. We're gonna rank them, I know, at the end of this podcast, but definitely loved it. I would say that so many great cast members on this, but I fell in love with Sandra. She just did not care what you thought of
Zero
her.
zero F's given.
Yes. And like honestly, Johnny Fairplay was a loudmouth, obnoxious kind of personality.
Yeah.
You kind of liked how he played though, because he was a little guy, but he was able to kind of put a stamp on it. And he knew, like, he played the villain card almost, where he was
He
like,
knew what he was doing.
nobody's gonna vote for me. Take me to the final with you. Like
Yeah.
that's why I want to go. And then he was smart with what he was doing. But Sandra just could not put up with his crap
Yeah.
because he was so obnoxious at camp, and she would just give him, she'd read him. What am I trying to say here, David? When you're trying to read something like the rights act, like
Oh,
she would just
yeah, read
like,
him his rights. Yeah.
yeah, she just went off on him all the time, and it was great television. And you
Hmm.
always thought, like, how are they? But they work together as well during all of this stuff too.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny how it played out. But Sandra, she just hid, and she was really smart. I forget what she said when she ended up winning, and she talked about it, but she knew exactly how to kind of persuade people to vote for her because
Hmm.
Lil, I think, got on everybody's nerves at the finale.
That's the problem. Yeah, I think the Lil was probably going to lose to almost anybody except for maybe Johnny Fairplay, just because
Yeah,
but I think he would even still beat Lil, because at least people would be like, the Drake people would probably still vote for him.
yeah,
Sandra might not, just because she's Sandra.
yeah,
But I still think he would probably win. So I don't know that she had a way to get to the end to win.
yeah,
Um, even, you know, I mean, she would lose to just about anybody else I could think of, just because
mm,
people didn't view her as much of a threat, didn't think that she really deserved it, right? But
right.
right or wrong, and that was just the perception. So that's part of why I think Sandra was more than happy to go with Lil all the way to the end,
Oh,
and
for
Fairplay
sure.
was too. That's why Dara got voted off and not,
She
John,
probably would have won, I think, if she was in final two, Dara,
Dara. Yeah, I think so. I think so.
out of all the
But
three that were left.
yeah, probably. Just depends on, I don't know. I guess it depends on if it's fair play or not. With next to her, I don't know how they would view Dara's game versus fair play's game, but I mean, doesn't matter.
Yeah,
So
no,
I mean,
you're right.
Sandra is like, and like you're just getting started here. She's great TV. Believe it or not, you only have 4 returning players from this season.
Mm,
But what's interesting is that like you have 2 people that could be considered like Mount Rushmore type players in Rupert and Sandra. So that's great, but we've had seasons in the past that had more than 4 returning players, and I think this cast is the best cast, and the season um, shows it based off of that. But also even beyond that, it is top heavy still. I mean,
mm,
Sandra and Fair Play and Rupert, like they carry the season, but also the people in the middle that you wouldn't, maybe say they didn't never return, but they're still a lot of fun to watch. People like Dara and Burton and even Tijuana. I enjoyed Tijuana and Savage
Her
plays again, but like even Sean, like I remember Sean really well, and obviously Cindy Ryan's very memorable. So it's a very good cast overall.
Yeah, I know it really was, and like Tawana, like she was definitely one that grew on me more
Hmm.
as the season went along. I think Savage was really a likable character
Yeah,
because he was a pretty stand-up guy. He just wanted to win,
yeah,
and Austin drove me nuts. I mean, the
yeah.
fact that he spells his name Osten is so bizarre, but like it was just like I don't know. The way he was just complaining so much, just
Hmm.
like bro, like you're getting outworked by almost everybody else out here,
Hmm.
and you got like the physical physique for it. But I know that sometimes that happens with people. And yeah, I mean, Skinny Ryan, that guy, his poor guy,
Poor guy.
he is die jerks. That was so funny with that bandana. You're 100% right. He comes back with that. He's just looking at him all mean mugging him like he's gonna do something. It's like, bro, like just stop.
Yeah.
But yeah, Burton was interesting as well. I was kind of surprised how quick they turned on him at
Hmm.
Drake. It just kind of felt out of nowhere, and then he came back, and then
Oh, you
like,
mean when he first got voted off?
yeah, I forget what
So
happened.
what's fun about that is basically he kind of screwed himself. So he
Okay,
wanted to throw the challenge to vote off somebody else. I don't
I
even know
thought
who
that
it
was Fair
was.
Play that wanted to throw the challenge.
No, he was his idea first, and then Fairplay's
Ah.
like, "Yeah, it's great, let's do it." Burton tells Rupert, and Rupert obviously hates that idea. He
Mm.
has a really funny line where he says something like, "That's not like what a pirate would do." And he's like, "If this is pirate culture, he'd be dead already."
That's the one where they
It's
had
like,
to.
so they throw the challenge, and Rupert is like, "Okay, well, if he wants to throw the challenge, maybe we should just vote him out." And he gets with Sandra and Krista and somebody else. Probably, I don't know, maybe
When
because he
did he
gets
get voted out
because
first? We
he
don't see it
was the
here.
first time he was fourth. So yeah, so he would have been voted off.
After Lil,
After Lil was Lil third.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it would have been so any of the women, Trish or Michelle, but what was the funny twist on the whole thing? So Rupert has the idea, like he finally wants to throw the challenge, just vote him out. But then the winning tribe gets to kidnap one of their players, and
Or-
they kidnap Rupert,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
who is the like person in charge of that whole plan to vote off Burton. But the girls that were with him went ahead and like followed through the plan and voted him off anyways.
Yeah.
So
It
yeah.
was that. It was that physical challenge where they had to like
Hmm.
throw people in the water when they
He
like
sat
met them.
out. Burton
Yeah.
sat out.
And so did Rupert.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and Probst brings it up, and Rupert's like, "It wasn't my choice."
Yeah. He was mad. I remember
Yeah,
that because he's on the boat. He's like, I didn't want to do it. It's like, wasn't my choice, Jeff.
yeah.
But oh man,
And it's not the last time you're gonna see someone throw a challenge and get voted off.
yeah.
It's there's a more iconic moment later on
I
where it
can't wait.
happens. But this is one of them. It's him and Fairplay are really the two people that were in charge of the idea. So Fairplay obviously made it pretty far still, and he made it pretty far still, fifth. But
Yeah, because
he wouldn't have been fifth if or sixth if or fifth. Yeah, I'm doing dumb math here. He wouldn't have been fifth if not for the twist. So
yeah. It was a great season. I
yeah,
loved it. So many good characters. I really don't think there's anybody that was just awful.
no,
You know,
no,
even the girl that got voted out first, I forget her name. I said her name earlier because I
Nicole,
saw it. Nicole. Like
yeah,
she was the one that was trying to plot too to
yeah,
get
mhm,
somebody else out. Tijuana. She wanted her out first, and then that's when like Lil talked to I think Savage about it, and then they ended up voting her out. So,
mhm.
but man, I will say this: I did not realize she was only 24 years old. She looked a lot older. She looked like she was in her 30s.
Oh, wait, on the
To
season,
me, to me, I thought she
yeah,
was like in her 30s.
yeah,
So I don't know. Interesting player for sure.
yeah,
But Michelle, man, every time I see her, I just think about how she just totally threw her entire self away by doing that stupid food challenge. Like,
yeah,
it's so random. I really don't remember anything about Trish. I think she was also one trying to get Rupert out early, if I'm not
yeah. I don't
mistaken.
really remember Trish. That she's the one that I don't remember in this whole cast.
Yeah, she was.
Everybody else I remember.
Yeah, that's kind of sad though that she was the forgettable one.
Yeah, because she made it
She
further
made
than
it
several
further.
people. She was the sixth
Yeah.
person voted off, technically.
Yeah, I mean that's this one is like one that you could talk about for a long time just because
Yeah.
so much happened. And I think that the Outcast like coming back really made it. that way as well, because it brought back characters that were voted off or players that were voted off earlier
Hmm.
and kind of like revived their survivor moment just by giving them an extra episode
Yeah,
they
yeah,
probably wouldn't have been on.
yeah.
So
Okay, well, I think you want to go ahead and move on to All Stars.
let's do it.
All right, so from one star-studded season to another, obviously All Stars is going to be full of stars, just because of the name of the game. So, this is one that is actually kind of, I shouldn't say controversial, but some people don't really like this season. Um, and I'm kind of lukewarm on it. So I'm interested to see what you think about it. We talked a little bit about it, but not a ton.
Mm,
So obviously the cast is really great because it's all stars. But the um level of competition being emotionally so much higher because they've become friends, they've gotten to know each other. There's a lot more like people took it so personally. Like I'm not
yes.
sure it was ever this personal, maybe not even in the first season, other than Sue. Um, I can't think of anybody else that made it more personal. And then speaking of Sue, you also have the stuff with Sue and Richard. So
Hmm.
you have a lot of and also you have the stuff with Jenna and her mom. There's just a lot of like things in this season that take away from the fun that this show is supposed to be, which is why despite having an absolutely incredible cast and having some incredible moments, um, I'm kind of lukewarm on it for those reasons. But what about you? What are some things, how do you feel about the season overall?
Yeah, so I will just say this real quick, just not to go back, but like I was in love with Pearl Island so much that I think I finished it in 2 days. Like I watched it so
Yeah,
fast. It might have been like three, and then I did the same thing for this season. I binged it in like
nice.
2 days because part of the reason was I really liked knowing every single player on the show. So like you knew like and
Yeah,
they were so developed and like you had previous winners, you had people that made it to the final whatever, final four, final five, like just a lot of popular players because it's
yeah,
all stars. And so it was just like, okay, how are these teams or how are these people going to coexist and how did their former like being on a former season with them, how did that impact the game? And you're right. I liked almost everybody on there. I'd still say probably my least favorite of this cast was Alicia.
oh,
I just
yeah.
she's just kind of there. I don't really feel like she does much. I mean, I kind of felt that way when she
She
was
kind of
on
rode
the
coattails this season in All
yeah,
Stars.
yeah, she did. I mean, but she was part of the stronger tribe as
Hmm.
well. I will just say this, you're right. This did definitely get too personal. It's kind of awkward because of how personal people took it.
Hmm.
I felt so bad for Jenna. We found out after this season that Jenna and Ethan were dating, which
Hmm.
was really cool. I don't know how long that lasted or anything like that,
I'm not
but
sure either because I'm pretty sure that it was over by the time that I even started becoming a fan of Survivor.
okay.
So
I know it was more than a couple of years from when I looked at it, but Jenna had just previously won the Amazon, and then she comes back 2 years later for All Stars, and her mom is super sick, and
yeah,
she just felt like I can't continue with this. So she goes home, and her mom unfortunately passed away during that time. So like it was really emotional, and I think I even might have got a little teary eyed for her because like
yeah,
Jenna's
it's
a
tough.
really great character.
Yeah,
Um, I was still on the high of Rupert and Rob Cesternino. So I was hoping they would go super far in this one. So those were the two guys I was rooting for the most
yeah,
while I was watching this. Richard Hatch, I felt him to be very obnoxious
he was
this
rough
season.
this season. Yeah, he was.
Like the first year, I didn't mind it as much because I kind of enjoyed it. But at the same time, I think because they knew he won, they gave him a better edit.
Hmm. Probably.
Maybe some. And on this one, I just felt like I really don't need to see you naked every challenge. Like
Yeah,
it was one thing to be naked on the beach. It's
yeah.
another thing to be naked in challenges. And then
You're right there in front of people, especially the challenge, obviously, where with the drama with Sue. That's
yeah,
obviously something you just shouldn't be doing. And it really like you can villainize him for it, and that's totally fair. But
yeah,
Survivor themselves should never have let that happen. And they only did it because of the TV ratings. They're like, well, it got us lots of ratings the first time he was naked, so why not let him be naked? And
yeah.
they didn't think about the players, they just thought about the TV money and the ratings.
Mhm.
Um, and so obviously that should never have been allowed. Even
And
though
what
he should never have done it, it also should never have been allowed.
yeah, and I think what's really interesting is like at this point, the Mogo Mogo tribe, like he thought he was in an alliance not to get voted out. So there was a
Yeah.
chance he would have even been safe had there been a different alternative voting decision. And then Sue was so upset by what he did because they were doing some like challenge where they like go across like almost like a balance beam type thing to go
Kind of, but
around
they're
each other.
sharing it. Yeah.
Yeah, they're sharing it and they had to kind of go around each other. And he's naked and he kind of just threw
Y-
himself at Sue being stupid.
Yeah.
And
And he,
he
I mean,
was dead.
he's all over her. I mean,
Yeah, it was definitely inappropriate. We know that he's gay, he's openly gay. They were together on the first season, Borneo. So to me, I thought, okay, like he's just being a jerk at the end of
yeah.
the day and just being stupid because he's an arrogant jerk. That's what he is. I mean, I'm not trying to like
Yeah.
downplay who he is, but I felt like Sue had every right to react the way she did. I
Hmm.
thought she maybe did a little bit of an overreaction to it, just my personal opinion, but I didn't go through that trauma. So I'm not trying to judge her for that. And the fact that she had to quit immediately after that because she was so mad about it, she was justified in that. I don't have any problem with her quitting because of that, but it also just sucked because he was already voted out. And I was hoping that they could just push through that. You know, like you said, Survivor should never have let it happen. But I
Yeah.
wanted Sue to continue because Sue's a good player.
And she's fun to watch. Yeah.
So that, I mean, she was probably on the outside looking in with the tribe she was on anyway. So I don't know how much longer she would have lasted, but she's a great personality. So because of that, and because she quit, I think they ended up not doing that challenge that day.
Yeah. They didn't, I don't think they did do a challenge. She just quit
Yeah.
and then they moved on.
Yeah.
That was the thing. So your third episode ends with a quit, and then you don't have tribal council, and then your seventh episode ends the same way. So it's like,
Yeah.
at this point, and maybe it was less episodes. I don't know if they doubled up, like if they had a 2 hour finale or some point. So I could be wrong on the episode numbers, but
Yeah.
my point is, you have six people, so it's six, not seven. So
Yeah.
you have
Six
six
person
people,
voted out.
so six people that are out of the game, and so theoretically 6 episodes, and two of those were just quits, no tribal council. And I'm not even sure they had a challenge for when Janelle left or not. I don't remember there being a challenge for that. I think she left at
Yeah.
the challenge mat the same way that Sue did.
Hmm.
Um, so maybe I'm wrong about that, but still, as a huge chunk of your episode that you're banking on is just gone. Um, and on top of that, the production in terms of like as a viewer, it's not fun to see people that you like and enjoy on TV suffer and be upset.
No, no.
And deal with a dying mom and deal with sexual assault and deal with like it's not
Yeah.
enjoyable. Like, that's why like all the stuff with Thailand is why I'm like I don't even care how much you want to blame what person or how much you want to do whatever. It's like it's not entertaining, it's not fun, it's not enjoyable in any way. So obviously, and at this point, which is crazy. I don't know how much you know about later seasons, but they have another big scandal with sexual assault stuff, and
Yeah.
they really crack down on it from there. The thing is why didn't they start here, right?
Why did they start
After
with Ted
having
and
it,
Gandia? I mean,
well,
my
yeah, I mean,
God.
they definitely should have. But once they didn't, this is only a couple of seasons later, right? This is season 8. So it's only 3 seasons later. It's a year and a half later. And at this point, you should have really cracked down on that kind of stuff. And they don't for a really long time, which is disappointing. But it's obviously in a good spot now. But
Yeah.
for legit decades, it's not dealt with.
No, and I think they kind of ask for it by putting men and women together to sleep together in the cold. I mean, you see a lot of it happening where like there's couples that form and stuff on the show, and that's fine if
Yeah.
it's done in the right way. It's got to
Yeah.
be consensual. It can't be one that's like
Yeah.
inappropriate. And like with Richard, they knew that he was this wild card, but even like the
And they benefit from him being a wild card,
I
right?
know in
So
the
they kind
season
of let him,
before,
so they let him go, and then it ends up kind of
I
backfiring.
I think they got kind of infatuated a little bit with the like let's let these players get naked on TV because
Well, you have
we
that in
saw
Amazon,
yeah, Jenna and
got them tons of money. Jen and
yes, they got
Heidi.
Jenna and Heidi got naked on that challenge. The next season, Savage takes off his
Oh,
clothes when
that's
he's doing
right.
like the first challenge, like that they're like putting together like a wheelbarrow or something
Yeah,
that shot something. It might have been a cannon, I can't remember, but
it's a canon. I think you're right.
yeah, and like it looked like a wheelbarrow, but they were getting stuff together, and like he like took his clothes off because he had a suit on when he jumped in the water. Like a little bit more understanding, and then Hatch just likes to get naked no matter where he's at. But I feel like they should make a rule like don't get naked during challenges. We'll
Yeah,
provide you whatever. Like it's just
yeah,
inappropriate. So we can kind of move on. I mean,
sure.
I felt bad for Tina because she won. She was a sweetheart of Australian Outback, and she got
Yeah,
voted out quick. And then Rudy was just
I understood why Rudy got voted off. I mean,
too old.
he's too old to be
He could not
any
handle it.
help. Yeah. So it's
Um,
because then if you look at it, once Saboga voted off those two older players, I mean she's only 42, but a
yeah,
small woman in her 40s and then 75-year-old man, once they voted them off, they didn't lose until way later.
yeah,
Right.
and
So
like because
it's they went on a 6 episode streak or 5 episode streak here where they didn't have to vote anybody off. So
yeah,
it worked out in their favor. So you understand why they did it, but it did stink for Tina because she's a good TV character.
yeah, and it's like I didn't really miss her that much in this season though. Like
No,
she's
not too much. This
yeah,
is a cast full of huge characters, so
so you didn't really need her that much. I missed Rob because I think
that
Rob
was
was kind
tough.
of screwed by Jeff Probst, basically calling him the
Hyping him up,
greatest
yeah,
greatest Survivor player of all time. He just put a huge target on
yeah.
his back.
Well, the greatest to never win is what
Oh
he
yeah,
says. The
sorry.
greatest to never win, and so like Rob Mariano took that kind of personally on his tribe, you know.
But Rob
Uh,
Mariano at this point, to be fair, didn't even make
oh no, I
uh
know
the final. I'm saying he didn't make the jury
the jury in this first season.
for
I know, but I'm saying
Marquesas.
like that puts a target on Rob Cesarino's back in the eyes of
Oh,
people,
for sure.
like Rob, like Amber, Tom. I mean, all these other players are like, well, this guy, everyone's hyping him
Yeah.
up. So why would we, give him a chance to just keep being a great player? We should vote him off. So he also didn't. He's said in podcasts and in interviews and stuff that he trusted people when he shouldn't have done that, and he kind of went along with things thinking that he was in with the right people when he
Hmm.
wasn't. But it didn't help that Jeff was so full of
Yeah.
praise for him.
Yeah, and then of course Kobe was a fan favorite. I think he ended up winning an award at the end of the show for being like best looking survivor or something like that. Like it was just fun. I mean, Kobe was definitely one that a lot of girls liked, and he did a great job in the Australian Outback. We talked about him, like coming in
Yeah, yeah.
second. Very good challenge, very good at challenges, but he didn't really stick out that much. He almost was like viewed as a threat, I think, so he got voted off early.
Yeah, for sure.
Ethan got voted out because he was
Just because he
definitely a
was a
huge
winner.
threat. I think
Yeah,
he was the last winner
I think
to get
so.
voted out. He was one
Yeah,
that lasted the longest. So
the last winner.
obviously, yeah, the winners had huge targets on their back.
Hmm. I mean, they were all voted off in the first 8 votes, so
And then
it was.
we got to talk about Jerry here because this is where things kind of got ugly a little bit
Yeah.
because she got really PO'd that she got voted off and got viewed once again as the villain of the show almost.
Hmm.
And so during the after show, she basically got up and like walked out in the middle of it. She was so upset. And then
Yeah.
she like did an interview with CBS or wherever they were, I think it was CBS at the time, and basically went on there and said that the show basically tried to like she only was there because she had like the show forced her to be there at the after show. She didn't want
They
to be
they
there.
did,
And so
but they,
Probst
but I
basically
mean, that's in her contract. Is the thing? It's
yeah.
like,
So this was where they had the fan show like the couple of days after the after show,
hmm
and like people got free cars or whatever for voting and stuff like that. And so
yeah,
she showed up for that, and Probst basically said, "Okay, I don't want you to be here if you don't want to be here. So if you don't want to be here, leave."
yeah.
And I think she ended up staying for that one. So
It's funny.
Jerry's just drama Jerry. That's what I call her. Nobody thought she was going to win this thing. I never did. I always thought
Yeah,
that she was just, like you said, riding coattails to get to where she got. And she was an easy, like, okay, we'll get rid of her thing. But I think where everything got very interesting is how she got voted off. No, it was actually no, I think it was because was she the person that took the fall basically for Amber instead?
yes, I think so. So, or was it? It was a tribe swap, right? Yes. So
It
there's
was.
a tribe swap, and Sheeb came to Shapira and Rob with, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. So yes, I'm trying to like piece all together now. So
Yeah,
she
because
came to Shapira, Jerry. So like the new Shapira was Jerry, Lex, Kathy, Sheehan, and Amber.
yeah,
And
because there was nine.
then you
They
have
all
Rob,
stayed the same. They all stayed the same.
except for but they switched colors, but they stayed the same
Yes.
group. And then it
Same
was
tribes.
Jenna, Rupert, Tom, Rob, and Alicia. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't
Alicia.
know. So that was where the moment of Rob like protect her if you can, like I'll help you, like trying to play. He's playing Lex. He's
Yeah.
playing Lex because Lex is voted off the next tribal council.
Yeah.
Which so like Jerry getting voted off because Lex was trying to curry favor with Rob. That didn't sit well with Jerry, obviously. But then
Yeah.
the next two votes were the two people that helped make sure that Amber stayed,
Yeah.
Lex and Kathy. And they're gone bang bang. The only reason why Sheehan lasted so long is because she wasn't viewed as a threat, and I think she won.
She
I
won
think she won the
immunity.
immunity,
And they got
and so they voted
so
off
mad at
Alicia.
her.
Yeah,
Alicia was like, you better quit your bragging over there. You're by yourself. You're going next. Alicia, then she gets
I
voted
love that
out.
Sheehan. I love that Sheehan won that challenge at least. At least she didn't get to last a whole lot longer, but she got that one win at least.
She was like, yes, yes, yes. And Jeff's like, you're pretty animated. She's like, yeah, because I was going home if I didn't win.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And she's like going crazy, which she should have done that. I don't
Yes.
get why, like, Alicia's like, oh, you're not respecting us. I'm like, why should you respect you? You guys were going to vote her out, you bunch of
Yeah.
idiots.
Like
So,
you're not showing that her way. Like you're not treating her that way. So why should she treat you that way? So
yeah, I mean, Kathy and Boston Rob had a connection from
from our
Marquesas. So
cases, yeah. So she took it
they,
really personally, obviously.
yeah, but she kind of got over it at the end. I think that she still voted. I don't know if she voted for Rob, but I think at the after show, she
I'm
definitely,
sure in the after show she cooled off, but
but
Lex was super heated though.
Lex was super heated, but nobody was as heated as Tom when he got voted
Well,
out.
that's true. That's true.
Because it was a tie, it was a close vote. I
I'm
can't
trying
remember
to
who
see. It
she.
was 4-3. I'm just trying to see here. I can. This is cool. How much we can see here. Um. So in the can we get to the finale?
Oh, here we go.
Here we go. Jury votes. Um. Why is it showing it like that? Oh, okay. So who voted for Rob? It was those two, which are Jenna and Rupert, I think. Yeah, Jenna and Rupert and Kathy.
Kathy did
I
vote.
think Kathy did vote for Rob.
Yep,
Okay,
yep.
cool. And then the votes for so then Alicia, Sheehan, Tom, and Lex were the four for Amber. So obviously really close finish.
Yeah,
Which
this was
which we should talk about that at some point. But um,
because the other ones were not close finishes at all for votes.
most of the time, yes, they were not.
Yeah. So long story short, like it was really cool to like see Rob kind of play Lex. I thought it was great gameplay.
It
I
was
mean,
great gameplay, but
Rob had everybody thinking like that they could trust him. And I
mhm,
just don't know how after you like Rupert would refuse to turn on him. Because there was a point there where Rupert, Jenna, and Tom even talked about turning
yeah.
on
Well,
Rob or Amber.
I
And
think
they,
Tom was the real reason why it didn't happen. I don't think
yes,
Tom was gonna flip. And
because
so
he thought him
then
and Rob were going to the final too.
yeah, and that's part of why Tom was so mad at the end was that I think Rupert and Jenna would have flipped if Tom would have done it, and
Hmm.
Tom wouldn't. So then he defended Rob and then got voted off that episode.
Well, what's really funny too is like I think Tom and his son took Rob and his brother to the other camp to have like a night for a reward.
For
And
a
in the
reward.
video, Rob basically made fun of Tom and his son for being just like hillbilly rednecks. And
Yeah,
Tom took that very personal because
which
Tom and
which
his
he
son,
wouldn't know about that until the reunion, but
yes, the reunion
yes,
show. And I thought it was also interesting how much like Rupert's like, I hate that I'm in this alliance with Jenna. She's really annoying me. I can't stand her. I'm thinking about flipping, but I know I can't. And so
yeah,
like he was done. I mean, and we talked about Jenna before Borneo. She was
yeah,
a good character there. She did wear on me a little bit on this season too. She's just over the top, but
yeah,
she's not a bad person. She was just annoying after so long, but Boston, Rob, and Amber like stole the show. They
yeah,
were hated by so many, but they still found love out of this. They end up getting engaged on the reunion show.
yeah.
So Rob actually becomes a millionaire because of Amber. End up getting married. They're still married. They have how many kids now, David?
Oh, I think it's four daughters, but it could be more than that.
Okay.
I want to say four. I'll look it up real quick while you're going
Yeah.
on that.
And so I just thought that, no matter how maybe poorly Rob played the game in terms of like ethics or whatever, four girls.
Yeah, I was right. It's four daughters. Yeah.
Yeah. No matter how like poorly he played it, like he was definitely controlling it. And I think the reason Amber ended up beating him, she deserved to win. I think Amber
Okay,
played a better game.
I was gonna ask you that. So
I
that's
think Amber played a better game because she never really got people mad at her,
yep.
and she was able to survive, which is the
She
smart thing to
played
do.
she played the social game
She
way
did.
way better than Rob.
And I don't know if she won, but I feel like she won the final challenge between the final three.
I don't remember.
I can't remember if it was her
I'm
or
sure we
Rob.
can find that, but
Yeah. But
um
I know that she had some moments in there where you're like, okay, she really should have been voted out when they had the merge, not the
Amber did
merge, the tribe
win.
swap.
Amber did win one challenge. She won
Yes.
the final three or final four challenge.
Okay.
Where they
Because she
voted
had,
off Rupert.
gotcha. Because I think they were going to vote her out had that not been the
I think they
case.
were
But
going
I
to try
think,
to, but they
but
couldn't.
Jenna
They
flipped.
didn't have the numbers. Yeah,
Yeah.
Jenna voted for
Rupert.
Rupert so that she could ensure her own safety. I
Yeah.
mean, they could
Because it
have
would have
tried to
been a
vote for
tie.
Amber, but it would have been 2-2, and I don't know what happens in a 2-2 tie, but Amber wins.
I
And so
think
I
they draw
wonder
rocks at this point because that's
they
how it
may they
was a
may have
couple of
made
episodes, seasons ago.
they may have made fire also.
I don't think they did fire making until Stephanie's season in season 10. So I
May-
think it would have been a drawing of rocks, I think.
Maybe, or maybe would have gone back to their previous votes still.
Yeah, I think they did the whole drawing of rocks with Pascal and
Yeah,
Marquesas.
that's true. That's season
Because he said it
4.
feels like a purple rock or whatever, and he got it.
Yeah,
I don't really think there was any other tiebreakers because they were all afraid of the tie, so everybody always tried to flip to not
yeah.
to avoid it.
I don't remember exactly now.
It's all coming back to me as I'm thinking about it while
That's
I'm
funny.
watching it. But
Yeah.
I remember Jenna saying she didn't want that to happen because
Hmm.
she was just like, no. But I actually okay, so like end of the story, like it was between Rob and Amber, and it was like a who do you like the least? Because I think at one point, I forget who it was, but they were wanting to get Amber out early because they thought she was controlling the game. And it was somebody from Moga Moga. I think it might have been Sheehan who was like, I
Makes
think
sense.
Amber is the one that's controlling it all. And I think she's a bigger threat than Rob. So, but they bonded really well. Honestly, like my Annie watched this with me and she enjoyed the love story at the end, obviously, with them getting married and or getting engaged and stuff. But I honestly like, yeah, I get the controversy and the stuff like that, and it got too personal. But I really liked the season. I thought it was really interesting
Nice.
to me. I mean, it
Cool.
wasn't like my favorite season.
Yeah.
I still really enjoyed it. Like it was way better to me than like Marquesas and Vanuatu. So I don't know if
Yeah.
you feel the same way, but I definitely
Well,
thought it was better than those two by far.
I'm keeping my cards close to the chest for when we show our ranking. But
And Thailand, obviously.
well, that's easy. I will say we talked about a lot of the serious moments. The one of my favorite moments in all of Survivor is Rupert building the underground shelter and it floods.
Oh yes,
Bro, one of my favorite moments of the show, period. It's
that
so
is so.
funny. Like
It's like we gotta
like
dig.
he's so sad and he's just like committed to it. Like, he's not gonna give up, even though it's clearly not gonna work. He's just like it's like he's literally in too deep to go back and not like to give up on the idea.
Yeah,
It's so funny. And everyone else is
I
just like,
forgot
this is
about
not
that.
gonna work, Rupert.
Yeah, and he just wouldn't stop. And like, so then they just went into it.
Oh,
And like, when the guy came over there to look at it, he was like, you build it
underground.
underground. So they
So
lost that
good.
challenge. Jerry was ticked at him on that
Yeah.
point,
Yeah.
which he had a right to be. I mean, that was really a
Sure.
dumb idea. But Rupert at that
Yeah.
point had been the Survivor man the year before. So like him doing
Yeah.
back-to-back years is just crazy. The after show was really cool, not only because of the engagement, but they also had the voting for stuff because it was All Stars and Men to make it real big. And they ended up giving a vehicle away. I think
Yeah.
no, it was another $1 million. It was
It was a second $1 million. Yeah.
for the fan favorite, and Rupert won.
Yes. Yeah.
So that was really cool. And I want to say Amber gave someone a car, I think.
But for that car challenge, I don't remember the
I
car
think
challenge. I think that
because her and
I think Rob won the card.
Rob won the car challenge, but she got the other car because he took her with him
Oh,
on
that's
the
right. That's
reward. But
right.
then she won a car for winning the show. And I think she gave
Oh,
it
I don't know
to
about that.
Sheehan. I think she gave it to Sheehan
Oh, well,
actually.
cool. Well, Sheehan was one of the reasons why she won the game because Sheehan voted for Amber to win
Yeah.
at the end. Because there's this whole thing which you should watch this going forward. There's a fan theory that there's a curse to the car, and
Oh, Jeff talks about it.
whoever wins the car always loses the season.
Yep.
And that's held true. I think I'm pretty positive through these 8 seasons. So I have to watch that going forward. But everyone that wins the car loses the season, which is
Spoiler
really
alert.
interesting.
Up to season 12, I think. so far. That's been the
You've
case.
watched through 12, yeah.
I've watched
Yeah.
through 12 so far.
Yeah.
So that's the case for that because someone won the car and then there was one season, we'll talk about it later, but they had the choice to give everybody a car or keep
Oh,
the car
that's right. Or
themselves.
keep it for themselves and they kept it.
They kept it themselves and got voted out the next round.
Oh, it's
So,
so
but it
good.
was actually the smart move. Like the person was like, "Yeah, I would have kept the car myself too. Like this isn't about us. It's about
Yeah.
it's a gameplay, but at the same time, like, hey, at least you got the car."
Yeah. Because like if the person gives everyone the car, then they're so likable they're gonna get voted off. You know what I mean? Like everyone's gonna love that person. So then all of a sudden they're a huge
It
threat.
was a lose lose
So
situation, and
yeah,
Survivor really screwed that player by doing that to
well,
them.
yeah, this Survivor gives a lot of people lose situations. So, but okay, so I was gonna ask you about Amber winning, but you already kind of talked about that. So do you want to
Yeah,
move on to Vanuatu?
we definitely can. I will just say this: I'm glad that
Go ahead.
Tom fixed things with Rob on on the after show because they wouldn't even talk. Like he wouldn't even shake
Yeah,
his hand. It was ugly. It
it
was
was pretty
stupid.
ugly.
I was like, "What are we doing? This is so stupid. Like it's freaking Survivor, man." Like
Yeah,
they definitely took the ethics part of it way too seriously with like lying and
yeah.
morale. It's
And
like,
see, the thing is, I don't think it really had anything to do with it. This is just my opinion, and based off of some things I've heard, but mostly just my own opinion. I don't think they really care about the ethics. I think they use ethics to justify their hurt feelings. It's
yes,
all about feelings. It's
yeah,
literally just this is my friend Rob. We met, after our seasons and we've done all these different fan events together and we've gotten to know each other over the last couple of years. And now we're out here. We've formed a bond and we've created an alliance and he gave me his word and oh, I trusted him and he screwed me over and I lost $1 million because he screwed me over. And
yeah.
so it's hurt feelings is really what I think it is. But again, not totally 100% grounded in pure fact. It's a lot of theory on my part that because Lex and Tom both kind of did mostly play um, a, a game of loyalty in their past, but not 100%,
Mm-mm.
and so it seems a little disingenuous for them to try to be like, oh, it's all about just ethics. And I'm like, yeah, but not really.
Yeah, the final tribal was very cringe. It was
That's
just
part of
like,
why the whole season's tainted is like it starts off rough with two quits that are they're justified quits, but they're sad, difficult to do with twists, and then you end it with like just a lot of hurt feelings.
yeah, I was glad Amber won. I think she was
Yeah,
deserving. I thought it was a good season. I would say that, yeah, wasn't the best season I've seen so far for sure,
yeah,
but it was still a really good season in my opinion. I mean, it's probably going to be somewhere in the middle of the pack by the time I get done. But you're right. I definitely did look up some rankings prior just to see what people thought of it because I watched it. And I was curious, and a lot of people had it in like the lower tier, and I
yeah.
was kind of surprised because
I don't,
I've
but I don't have it super high either.
yeah, I just kind of thought it was a good season. I didn't think it was bad, but I definitely thought it was good. And
Yeah,
if it's good, I mean that's popular television. It's hard to do TV wrong when it's Survivor. So like
yeah.
just take it for what it is. I'm not one that overanalyzes things like that. I
Like
know
me,
that you can do that,
I do that. Yeah,
but I just don't. I just like if I
yeah,
don't like it, I don't like it. If I do like it, I do. So
yeah. I get it. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into Vanuatu. This is one that I'm not going
oh
to have. This is probably the one out of all nine that we talked about so far that I will have the least to say. I have watched it decently recently, because Stacey had not seen it. So like when we first got married and started watching Survivor together, I deliberately chose seasons that I knew were really good, and then avoided ones that were like mid tier and lower tier. And then we
mhm.
slowly would go and fill in the cracks because I wanted to make sure that she liked it before I like went from the beginning. Um, and so we did, I think, in the last couple of years, watch this season. So I've watched it more recently than some of the other ones we talked about. However, it is just to me not super memorable, and it kind of falls in line with some of the other casts that will be lower on my list as well, where there's just not an incredible cast. Um, there are obviously some people that are a lot of fun to watch, but overall, um, probably a bottom three cast of the nine so far. I do think they have two returning players from this season, which is more than Thailand. But but that's not always a sign of a good cast. I'm not trying to say that necessarily. But what are your thoughts overall though?
So this season was very interesting because the way that it started out, they were all on an island together, and they got welcomed in by the native tribe members there that live there on the island, and by their ritual, they split them up into boys versus girls, and that's not how it was supposed to be originally.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's actually like canon or if that's a theory. But I'm pretty
Okay,
sure that I've talked to you about that because I've heard that, but I'm not 100% positive that that is
okay.
like legit.
I saw that on
Um,
a YouTube video as well when I
yeah,
was like rewatching some
because I
stuff
don't
on
think
this.
I don't think Survivor or Jeff ever actually said, yeah, we were gonna do something different, and then it just this is what happened.
Yeah.
So I don't know that anyone actually knows that for sure. I think some Survivor players from this season have said that, but I don't think they know that is the other thing
Okay, it's
too.
just
So
speculation.
speculatively, basically they assumed that they were not going to do men versus women, and then these I'm not even sure like what to call them. It was
Native
like a
Island members, I guess.
yeah, I mean, but it was like a ceremony. So they're doing the
Yeah.
ceremony, and a part of their ceremony is that the men sit on one part of the ceremony and the women sit on another part of the ceremony. So they separated the survivor players by
Yeah.
gender, and then that kind of like stuck is the theory. That wasn't actually the plan, but we don't. I don't think we 100% know that. I don't see that
Okay.
anywhere here, and I've
Yeah.
never heard that from like Jeff or anyone that was like, yes, this is 100% what happened. I mean, it's a really cool theory, and I mean, it'd be fun if it was real, but we don't know for
Yeah.
sure.
So I mean, I guess our conversations had kind of trickled over into my brain when I was thinking about
Yeah,
this,
we had
but
talked about it, but I don't remember if I
yeah,
told you
yeah.
or whether or not it was
I thought I
theory
had
or
heard
not.
it too, but I honestly like this cast is so forgettable in my personal opinion. Uh,
Yeah,
I will say, you know, the one that stood out to me the most was Julie Berry.
yeah.
Uh, Julie
Jeff's
was
ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, so Jeff and Julie actually dated after the show. She could not come back on the show, obviously, because of conflict of interest. So she's never allowed to come back on the show and be a contestant
I don't know if
because
that's true now. Like, I don't know.
oh,
I don't know if it's like never allowed to come back. I
because she
don't
just
know.
knew so many of the like the deep secrets of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
Because like
like,
at this point, it's
hey,
kind of common knowledge. But I think for sure for a while she was not allowed to come back.
all
But I
all I
don't know
gotta
about
say
now.
is Jeff, I understand why you hit her up after the show. Okay, like she looks
Yeah,
nice in a bathing suit. I'm not gonna lie. This is the end of the podcast. I'm sure most people aren't listening anyway at this point
yeah.
so long, but
We're over an hour in, so I
yeah.
think you're good.
But I mean, she is fine, man. I'm sorry, but like, she's just really good looking. So I'm like, you know what? I'm proud of you, Jeff. I mean, good one for you there. But honestly, this was an interesting season in terms of how it played out
Yeah,
because what ended up happening was you had the guys versus girls split, and then in their own tribes, there was the young versus the old. Chris is the winner of this show this season. I mean,
yeah.
this man completely butchered the first challenge of the show
Almost first person voted off.
because he couldn't walk across like a muddy beam or whatever it was, and they could not move on. And he had to keep going back to do it and kept going back to do it. And he could not finish it. And it was an easy vote. Get Chris out of here. Chris is a
Yeah,
liability. He can't do it. And then all of a sudden, Chris ends up convincing the older guys to go. I think was it Sarge?
it was
Who was
Sarge, Rory, and
Chad? Because
Chad
Chad had the
probably.
prosthetic leg, if you
Yeah,
forgot.
Chad, Sarge, Rory, and Chris with maybe with Travis. I don't remember.
No,
It's
yeah, Travis Bubba because
oh
he
yeah, his
ended
name
up
is
getting
Bubba.
himself.
That's right.
That's because they had the stupid tribe swap, and when they get there, he's like, "Hey, Chris, we're still on with the plan." When it's not even with the tribe, and so they all hear him and they vote him out
Oh
like just an
gosh.
idiot like player.
Yeah,
Rory, like he like was super annoying. They wanted to vote him out early, but the older guys were like, "No, we got to keep our guys together."
yeah,
John was surviving because they felt like he was like the least of the young guys, like as a threat.
yeah,
He was a model, a mechanical bull operator. They're like, yeah, he's not a big threat, but they ended up voting him out. The girls, it was just kind of interesting.
yeah.
I went back and watched a video, and people said Amy should have won the show.
I kind of wish she had won. Like it was interesting is like the cast is not great overall, but like I enjoyed Leanne, Amy, Julie, Eliza.
I really liked
Eliza
Eliza.
can be annoying, but I really like her overall.
Same.
Those four, like the thing is Eliza gets portrayed as annoying because people get like put off by how like she kind of paranoid about stuff and gets
Yeah.
really wants to talk about the strategy, really wants to go through everything. And I'm a lot like that. Like I would probably play a lot like Eliza if I ever played. I would probably be very and nervous and antsy and want to go over it again and again in my head and talk about the strategy and the vote and whatever else is happening over and over again. Whereas in this season, for whatever reason, people were like, why do you want to keep talking about it? Let's just move on, whatever. And she was willing to flip on people and make the right moves. So I really liked her. And Scout and Twyla were funny at times, but like
No,
they
Scout was
weren't
annoying.
they weren't great. They weren't like enjoyable. Like Twyla was funny, I guess. I could see why somebody might like Twyla, but at the end of the day, would have rather seen Eliza or Amy win, probably, even over Chris, even though it's a great underdog story.
Yeah.
It just felt like they just totally imploded and it just like all fell apart. And what's funny is that you'll see later, not right now, you'll see later, that like the threat of a women's alliance has loomed over a season before. People were freaked out that all the women are going to get together. And they couldn't even do it here when they had a 6-1 advantage. And I'm not saying it's like something to do with women. I'm just saying like there's really no reason to be freaked out by that. And several times people have been freaked out by like the threat of an all women's alliance.
Mhm.
And it's only ever really worked, I think, about maybe like one time, in 40 something seasons, 44 seasons. I want to say one time, maybe it's been more than that, but
Yeah.
one that I can think of. Because here they had a really strong alliance of 6 people to just one guy, and they let the one guy get to the end and win. So,
He played the swing vote
yeah, well,
because
for sure. So
what
they had
ended
two
up
groups, so they kind of,
yeah, I
instead of just
think
like getting him out and finishing the job, they let him play swing.
yeah, I think it was Julie, Amy, and Leanne were together, and Eliza,
Yeah,
Scout, and Twyla were together.
yeah,
Because Scout and Twyla knew they were the older ones that were going to be targeted, and so they got Eliza to swing with them,
yeah.
and then they got Chris to be
Well,
that swing vote. I think, if I'm
yeah.
not
Well, part
mistaken.
of that is because I want to say it was, no, it wasn't Leanne. Who was the girl that was? Oh, it was Dolly. That's who it was. So part of it was that Dolly on the girls' tribe early. Obviously, she was the second person voted off, but early in the game, there was the two groups, the older ladies and the younger ladies. So you had Lisa, who was with the older ladies, and Mia with the younger ladies. Like, so it was also kind of off of age, the same way the guys did. So you had Julie, Eliza, Amy, and Leanne were all kind of together.
Yeah,
And at one point, the younger group asked Dolly who she wanted to vote off, and she mentioned somebody, I don't know who it was. And so when the older group, because she was like, the Dolly was kind of play a little bit playing the middle, like she was kind of playing nice to both groups. So the older women asked her, who do you want to vote off? And she's like, I don't know, maybe Eliza. So then the older ladies went and told Eliza, hey, Dolly just said your name. And so
yeah,
they got her to vote her off because she was trying to play nice with both sides. And so that's kind of how Eliza ended up not being with Leanne, Amy, and Julie by the end, because she realized that she wasn't high on their pecking order.
mhm.
But yeah, it's a lot of interesting stuff to the season. It just doesn't quite hit a level of fulfillment to me. I'm never It's never what it could be. I think that there's like some great characters on here.
Yeah.
As I already mentioned with some of the women. I actually don't mind Rory. He's one of my. I
He
mean,
was fine.
the
He
problem is
got
the guy.
annoying after a while,
Yeah,
but
I can see that. But part of the problem is the guy's tribe is like pretty uninteresting.
yes,
Like
Sarge,
Sarge
like,
is funny, and then Rory has his moments, and Chris has his moments. That's about it. But none
yeah,
of those three are like super like, oh, I really like this guy. I really want to see him play again. Like I don't really care about seeing any of them play again for the guys.
no, you're right about that. And like Chad, at first, you kind of felt sorry for him because he had the prosthetic leg, and then he
Oh,
kind
of
of just
course, but he also is.
he didn't have a great personality. It was just kind of
Yeah,
like, and then he kind of felt almost entitled to. I don't know. He just kind of got on my nerves. I
yeah,
will say this throughout like the final five, final six, final seven, whatever. Like Chris and Julie got really close, and there was like a couple different episodes where you'd see Julie like wearing Chris's hat.
yeah,
And I was like, do they have the same hat? Because like I didn't catch it for a little bit. And like when he kind of flipped on her there, it really upset her. She literally
uh-huh,
cried
yeah.
at the
At
final
tribal council.
tribal.
Yeah,
Yeah, final tribal too. Because she was just so hurt because he had been like that brother like she thought that she had with him and whatever. And I think there's really a funny moment where like Julie went out sunbathing with somebody else and Sarge got in the middle of them and like
oh
went out
yeah, that's
sunbathing
right.
too.
That was funny.
That was funny. Like that was like Sarge had at least the most personality besides Chris. But
Yeah, for sure.
like so I was actually kind of glad Chris won out of everybody that was in here like at
Out
the
of the
final
final
three.
three, for sure, I still would have preferred Eliza out of the final
Yeah.
four, but
but he played her too. He played Eliza
Yeah.
pretty hard,
Yeah.
and like he played a good game, that's for sure. And
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
the fact that he was able to just like get there because I mean, from day one, he kind of game planned and he got all the older guys to vote with him. And
Mhm.
then when he was the last remaining guy, he became the swing vote and he continued to like play the girls against each other and didn't get involved. So strategy wise, I thought he did good. He challenge wise, he was all over the place. He was okay at challenges. I think some of the physical challenges became easier for him when it was going up against women. But I remember there was one challenge where they had their significant other with them,
That challenge was so funny.
and he was like telling his wife, like, "We've got to win this," or his fiance, "We got to win this, or I'm going home, and we're out $1,000,000." Like he just said, "I'm next to go,"
Yeah.
and I want to say Amy ended up winning. Her and her partner won, and so she thought, well, we're going to get Chris out. And then they ended up voting Leanne out. And this is when everything just started falling apart because Chris never talked to his wife after that moment. So she thought he was gone
Yeah.
at that episode. And lo and behold, there he was. I will tell you this. It's funny how the survivors just lose so much weight before the reunion show
Yeah.
because Chris looked so different. He had like this full beard. He was like getting thinner in the face. And then he comes back and he's got clean shaven and he's like heavy again. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is this the same guy?
Yeah.
So I didn't love Chris. I thought he was a fine strategy player. I actually liked Twyla. I thought she was hilarious.
That she was funny. She just
She
kind of
spoke her
was
mind
a
too
little
much.
annoying sometimes, but she was funny
Yeah.
overall.
But she
Um,
didn't really care how she like she didn't really care how she came across, I don't think, because I feel like she always had her back against the wall. And so she just felt like she had to um kind of speak her mind and stand up for herself. And I think Chris ended up winning the final. Did he win the final three challenge and take Twyla with him? Because I feel like
I think so. They might have had a final three. I don't remember, but Chris won the last two challenges. He won three of the last four.
yeah, so he ended up picking he voted Scout out. And I think
Yeah.
Scout ended up having like a really bad injury after the show
Oh,
where
that's right. Yeah.
she had to have surgery, I think, on her knee or something like that because her knee got so swollen before she went out there, she had knee problems and it got really bad while she was out there and she like pushed through it. Or I
Yeah.
don't know what was all going on, but I do remember that, Chris took Twyla with him because she was gonna join with the guys at one point, I think, but she didn't. She like stayed with the girls. But I think he took her because he knew how much she had upset the girls and he thought that would help him win.
Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
was like, I'm honestly like, yeah, I liked Eliza a lot better. I never liked Amy. I know a lot of people did. I found her to be like almost condescending to people. Like,
She was. That's fair, but
and
I still liked her.
yeah, she's a good player, but she just annoyed me because she was like, well, we're going to do this and I'm kind of in control. And like, I don't mind arrogance at all, but like at some point, I just like felt like the way she came across was just like, can I just get more Julie, please? I'm being selfish reasons. I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah.
but like,
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah.
but I liked Eliza a lot. I thought like when her mom came out there,
Oh yeah.
that was cool to see her
Hmm.
bond with her. She's so young. Like
Yeah.
that's the thing. Like these kids, like I call them kids, but they're only like 21, like 23. Like this is
Yeah.
like not easy stuff. And you're going up against 40-year-olds. Like Julie was
Hmm.
only 23. So it's
Yeah.
like Jeff, I don't even know how much older he was than her at the time, but
Probably don't want to know.
yeah, probably like 15 years, but
I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
maybe less.
Maybe more. Maybe less. I don't know. I really don't know. It probably is a scary number.
I mean, but I don't blame him. I don't blame him. That's all I'm gonna
Well,
say.
yeah, but it's also like
It's creepy, bro. But I'm just surprised that he was
maybe
allowed
it
to.
wasn't. He's 61 now, and this was
20 years ago, 19 years ago.
yeah, just under 20, 19 years ago.
So he would have been 41
One,
and she was
no, 30,
23.
39,
Yeah, 39 and she would have been 23. It's a little weird.
19, no, hang on, 19 years ago. So he'd
He's
been
at
40, 40.
okay.
So 17 years. Yeah, it's creepy.
Yeah. All right, but when you have that much money and Jeff is in as good a shape as
Yeah.
he is, I'm just surprised that it was allowed to happen, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he's allowed to date a former player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just seems like it would be against the rule book for Survivor, especially as the host. Like the fact that he reached out to her too, like that's just kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But I don't blame her for saying yes. I mean, popularity, money. I mean, it's probably like part of the reason why too. Like Jeff's not a bad looking guy. I mean, I'm not gonna say that either, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying all that popularity with the host of Survivor, like the most popular reality TV show at the time, more than likely making a lot of money. Like I can see the intrigue from a young woman at the age of 23.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm getting off
Okay.
topic here.
No, that's okay. So, I mean, I don't have anything else to add about this season. Do you have anything else to add before we go into our final rankings?
No, it was one season that when I got finished with it, I was happy to move on.
Okay. So let's do it like this. My number 9, out of the nine we've seen, out of the nine we've discussed so far, is Thailand. What's your number 9?
We're in alliance there, Thailand.
Okay. My number 8 is Vanuatu.
I am right there with you.
Okay. My number 7, Marquesas.
I am right there with you.
Okay. My number 6 is All Stars.
Okay, I'm right there with you still.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I had All Stars there.
That's fun. It's funny. My number 5 is Africa.
Okay, this is where I had Australia. I
Okay.
think I might
My,
have flipped.
my number 4 is Australia. So did you
Yeah,
have
so I have
Africa
number
4?
Yeah,
So we're just one different there. My number 3 is Borneo. Do you have that number
I
3 or
have
number?
Borneo number 3.
Okay, so we're in total agreement there. Number 2 is Amazon,
Yeah,
right? Number 1 is
number
Pearl
one Pearl
Islands.
Island. Yep.
Okay, so we are basically the same, which is really funny. One small difference in Australia and Africa, and those two are very close to me. If I remember correctly, I had them like back to back on my list of 40.
Yeah, it's tough. I think I might have even flipped from what we talked on the podcast
No,
last.
I thought you said you had Africa higher.
I
think
like
you
the
did.
winner of Africa better than the
Yeah.
overall season of Australia.
Yeah,
But that was where it was really tough because I really like
they're
the
very close.
and I just because I like the winner better, nothing against Tina, but
That's
I like
fine.
Ethan better. I mean,
Yeah.
that was the person I actually like picked out early on that I was rooting for to win, and they actually won.
Yeah.
Usually, like that doesn't happen for me. Like I always end up rooting for the person that finishes like 4th or 5th.
Yeah.
So that was like I finally got one right. I don't think I've ever, like, since the other ones. I don't think I've
Like
picked.
from the start. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was all over the place. Like I've had a couple that like came up in second because I wanted what was her name? Kelly. She from the first season.
Yeah.
Borneo. I
She was
wanted her to
close.
win over Rich, but
Yeah.
I liked Rudy too. Anyway, don't need to go back through all that. We already talked about that. Go back and check out the first recap.
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
this.
So if you're listening to this point, we're about an hour and a half in. If you're still listening at this point, we will soon have Survivor Indianapolis footage. This episode that you're listening to right now should probably be coming out in somewhere around the mid to end of July. And starting August 3rd, every Thursday in August, we will have Survivor Indianapolis season 4 footage coming out. I have edited a meet the cast video as well as the first 2 episodes, and I'm almost done with the 3rd episode. I hope to have that finished the next day or two. And so that should give me enough of a head start that I can meet the once a week quota starting August 3rd. So you can look forward to that on this channel. Also, obviously, we will continue going through these seasons 10, 11, and 12. We'll have Palau. 11 is Guatemala, and then 12 is I'm forgetting now. Oh, Panama.
Panama.
Yeah. Panama. So 3 pretty solid seasons. Guatemala is the only one that like some people don't love Guatemala. But overall, some we're not hitting the lows of Thailand, so that's good.
I will just give you guys a spoiler if you're still listening. I think me and David's rankings will change a little bit
Yes,
after the next 3 that we talk about.
Yeah, for sure.
So
We'll have
the
some
next
changes.
3 seasons. And if you're listening to this and it's July and you're like, man, I never really watched Survivor Vanuatu because I just didn't know much about it. Julie is worth the watch. That's all I'm going to say. I had to get one last one in there. That's all I'm going to say.
And if you're listening to this and you live in the Indianapolis area, and you want to play Survivor Indianapolis, leave a comment on the channel, on the episode. All right. I guess with that, we will head out of here and we'll see you next time for Survivor seasons 10, 11, and 12.
The tribe has spoken.